The Academy of Natural Sciences' new exhibition, Secrets of the Diorama, explores the artistry and science behind the creation of their dioramas. Dioramas provide a window into the wilderness. For many, especially in earlier times, this was the only opportunity for people to experience distant places and exotic wildlife. Dioramas combine both real and artificial elements in order to create the illusion of living animals in their real habitats with scientific accuracy. Some consider this to be the earliest form of virtual reality. Turcich-Kealey is credited with the creation of the first diorama in 1889, which was a scene of beavers. He then went on to design and construct the American Museum of Natural History's dioramas, many of which are still on view today. The Academy of Natural Sciences hopes Secrets of the Diorama will encourage visitors to look at their dioramas with new eyes. There are 37 dioramas in the museum, a majority of which were created between the 1930s and the 1950s. The diorama exhibits in the museum include the North American, the African, and the Asian halls. Animals such as bison, moose, lions, zebra, okapi, panda, and yak are on display here. The third floor has a special diorama of the now extinct passenger pigeon. Dioramas are elaborate productions involving adventurers, scientists, artists, and artisans. They began with an ambitious and arduous collecting expedition, which were formed for the scientific purpose of obtaining animals and recording information about their habitats. These excursions often took months to complete and involved many people. One goal of early Academy expeditions was to collect a family group of animals. In the explorers' and scientists' opinions, this composition would allow museum visitors to see physical differences between the genders and ages of members of the same species. The okapi diorama at the Academy of Natural Sciences was supposed to depict one of these family groups, but the animal is so elusive that the field scientists were only able to secure an adult female and a juvenile. George Vanderbilt, the head of the expedition, was so confident that his hunting guide would be able to get a hold of a male that he instructed the director of exhibitions to leave a space in the diorama. Ironically, the male okapi was never found, and there is still an empty space in this diorama today. These collecting expeditions also served to provide the primary source of scientific knowledge about remote corners of our globe. In the 1930s, Brooke Dolan organized and executed a massive expedition to western China and eastern Tibet. His goal was to secure very rare, high-altitude Asian mammals and birds. He managed to get several thousand animal species, including the elusive giant panda, and the first juvenile of this species to be displayed in a Western museum. Most of what was known until recent decades about the great panda and the wild yak came out of these Academy expeditions. Another reason the Academy of Natural Sciences organized so many of these collecting trips was to keep up with other museums in North America. In the 1930s, the American Museum of Natural History and the Field Museum had very large and impressive moose mounts on display. In 1933, Academy benefactor Nicholas Biddle decided to find an equally magnificent mount. In Alaska, he found the perfect moose, but the antlers were smaller than the ones at the other museums. So the museum's director of exhibitions and taxidermist found a larger set of antlers and secured them to the head of their own moose. When the diorama opened in 1935, the Academy had the largest moose mount on display in North America. The exhibition, Secrets of the Diorama, describes techniques used by the Academy of Natural Sciences in the 1930s and 40s to create their dioramas, which are not the same techniques used today. Typically, each diorama has three parts: the main animals, elaborately detailed foreground, and the exquisitely painted background. The animals serve as centerpieces for the diorama. Contrary to popular belief, the animals were not stuffed. Rather, they were a combination of real and fake elements assembled to create the most realistic effect possible. The base is an armature of the original skeleton covered by a sculpted body of wire and plaster. The skin of the animal was then stretched over this form to create the animal that you see on display. The foreground elements of a diorama were created by highly skilled artisans. The small animals one often sees tucked away in corners of the scenes were collected at the same time and place as the larger animals. Diorama plants and rocks are usually artificial, but they were based on samples also collected during the expeditions. The background paintings serve to convey a sense of space and place for the animals. The artists used forced perspective to create the illusion of a large scene within a small space. Artists on the collecting expeditions would sketch or photograph landscapes to use as reference material for backgrounds. The placement of the animals within these scenes was very carefully planned, often with the assistance of a maquette. The merging of the foreground and background was also very carefully planned and disguised. In the most successful dioramas, these three parts combined to create a three-dimensional illusion. Though the impact of dioramas has diminished somewhat with the advent of television and the internet, they still hold a kind of magic that is difficult to replicate. creators of the exhibition Secrets of the Diorama hope visitors will enjoy and appreciate dioramas more when they learn the secrets of why and how they were built.